Fair enough. I mean, the injury definitely, I guess I didn't consider that enough. So he says Daniel Jones is a sell high. Jamie, you say Brock Bowers and Emeka Egbuka.
So in the case of Bowers, you have to get clearly a king's ransom in return. But
yes,
and clearly he's going to benefit to whatever capacity of losing a receiver on the team. But the schedule is brutal, and the tight end position for however long this will last is robust. And you might be able to manage your way through it with whoever you picked up in the absence of Brock Bowers, and then get something at another position that could really benefit you. So I'm not giving him away by any stretch. And I don't think he's going to, completely struggle when the matchups are tougher. But that being said, if you can get something amazing in return for him, or two amazing players in return for him, because I still think that could happen, you should explore that. Yeah, I just think that we may have just had his best game, and it was awesome, and he's capable of doing that. But again, it just may be trending down from here to whatever sliding scale we get to with him.
Would you trade him, looking at the most traded list, would you trade Brock Bowers for Oronde Gadsden and Marvin Harrison Jr.?
nope.
I would definitely consider that if my receiving core sucked. But I would probably look for a better receiver. But that's the type of trade you want to make. You want to get a tight end that's playing well, that could be in the top 10 range, and a receiver that's going to give you some sort of, quality product. All right, Heath, would you do that if it was McMillan?
No.
Would you do it if it was AJ Brown?
No.
Wow.
Well, but Heath is also driving the bus of the Brock Bowers bandwagon. So I'm about to ask Heath I was
what
about
if it
to
was Fannin and AJ Brown?
What?
Fannin and AJ Brown.
No, I think Fannin and Gadsden are very, very similar rest of the season. I think those guys are probably going to score 11 or 12 fantasy points per game the rest of the way. And Bowers played the first 3 quarters of week 1 and he had a 30% target share. He came back in week 10, he had a 34% target share, or week 9, and then they traded away Jacoby Myers. I think he's probably 2 points per game better than Trey McBride and 6 or 7 points a game better than Fannin and Gadsden. But
for what it's worth, they have a terrible schedule.
Right.
Yeah, Jamie brought that up.
Dallas, Cleveland, Chargers, Denver, Philadelphia, Houston, Giants in week 17.
I'm going to go back to what I said about Daniel Jones earlier this week. I think pass rush matters the most here, because if Geno's comfortable, he's going to be able to fire accurately to Brock Bowers all day long. And Bowers proved that even if it's a pass it's a little off, he can still wedge it in between. He can chicken wing it with his arm and fall booty first in the end zone and score a touchdown with tight coverage on him like he had last week. But Jacksonville didn't bring the pass rush. They lost Trayvon Walker in the middle of the game. Geno was comfortable. Brock Bowers had a monster game.
Devin Lloyd didn't play.
Yeah.
And I am reading on BerlinExperiences.com that the stadium is now covered by an immense roof that seems to float over the spectators.
It is. It's almost like Hard Rock Stadium down here in Florida, Heath, where the spectators are covered, but the field is not.
I think what you're trying to say, Heath, is Das Stadion ist nun mit einem Dach bedeckt. Okay? So I think glad we put that to rest.
So if it rains, Dave, you think that they will get wet?
Daniel Jones will get wet, yes. Does that mean he melts and scores only 9 fantasy points against the Falcons? I don't know.
Do we have a German in the chat that can confirm or deny?
Dave, I think what you're trying to say is Daniel Jones wird nass werden. He will get wet.
I do like that you're at least using a German accent, unlike Dave, who said Olympic Stadium with a Spanish accent.
Yes, I do. What was that?
I'm a big American rube. Sorry.
All right.
Sorry, I don't have a great German accent.
Adam. Are we getting as the game of the week again?
Oh yeah, Wann spielt die Vogue? Yeah, whatever the hell it is.
He's already practiced it if he knows some of the words already.
All right, so Jamie, Emeka Egbuka as a sell high. How would you compare him to Zay Flowers and AJ Brown, who are your buy lows?
I mean, at this point, I'd rather have Egbuka. Rest of season, we'll see what happens, because again, they're going to get at some point Chris Godwin back. End of season, they may get Mike Evans back, but that shouldn't be a factor. But the schedule's tough. And so when you look at the end of season schedule, is he going to continue to produce at the same level? And we see this all the time, especially going from year 1 to year 2. Look what Brian Thomas is dealing with. Wide receivers sometimes get figured out, and teams sometimes get figured out. And we've seen a little bit of a lull with Egbuka. I wonder if just the the book on him now is out, and teams are figuring out a little bit how to defend him. I don't think, again, you're sitting him. We know this week's going to be a little bit tougher now for him, just looking at the matchup for the Bucks. But in the case of what you can get in return, again, you're trying to get something great in return for this. So I think you might be able to get, in certainly the case of AJ Brown, you might be able to get Brown in something else for Egbuka, especially if Brown continues to miss time. And maybe in the case of Flowers too, so again, you're just trying to sell at max value for Bowers and for Egbuka. I don't know if you missed the window in terms of max value, but I still think if we get word that Godwin's out and he's still the guy, which clearly he is, then you might just be able to get something that might help you a little bit more down the stretch. Because I don't really love the schedule for Tampa Bay to end the season.
I wonder if the injury that he suffered, what was it now, 4 weeks ago, has been the real reason why Tampa's passing game has been like harpooned over their last 2 games.
Well, one of them they just ran against New Orleans.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think you can count that against them. That's fair. But the Detroit game, for example, like I remember going into it, we weren't even sure if he was going to play.
Yep.
I don't know if Egbuka's been the same guy. Here's another receiver. I can't wait to see what the practice reports are like this week. If he comes out of the bye and there's nothing wrong, what was it? A hamstring, Jamie? Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, that's a hamstring.
Yeah, it was a hamstring. Thank you, Jamie. So if it's going to be that for Emeka Egbuka and he's okay and there's no problems, then I would have high expectations for Egbuka rest of season.
Adam, while I was researching Olympic Stadium in Berlin, did you, and I don't think you did because I think you were only speaking in German, did you put Egbuka on the AJ Brown, Zay Flowers, Michael Pittman?
I did. Jamie said he'd rather have Egbuka.
Yeah.
Like, selling high on Bowers and Egbuka makes me a little nervous because these guys have opportunities to win you your league, and they've been so good. I did note the schedule for both of them does kind of stink. Can they rise above that? I definitely think Bowers could. Just tight ends, like great defenses, sometimes it's not necessarily translated into how they do against tight ends. I get it with Egbuka,
especially like difference-making tight ends.
Like just knowing what we know about the Bucs offense the last 2 years, like from the end of 2023 till now, it's so Baker Mayfield's so good. He's struggling a little bit now. You know what? My friend texted me with a really interesting Egbuka trade. Would you give up Olave, Egbuka, and Swift for Jamar Chase?
I think it's too much for Chase.
How many teams in the league?
12-team league, and he doesn't really have a good RB2. So he'd be giving up Swift, whose value has to be down right now, I would think. Olave, Egbuka, and Swift for Chase.
If your running back situation's hurting, then I wouldn't do it.
I know it's exciting to have Chase on your team, but
it is.
It's a lot.
He can ask for a lowish end running back in return.
All right, Dave, you
maybe
have
somebody better than Aaron Jones anyway.
You have 2 minutes to tell me why we're selling high on Kyren Williams and Ashton Jeanty.
Well, with Kyren, he's been a game script and touchdown dependent running back on a team with an MVP quarterback candidate. He's on the Rams with the 4th highest red zone pass rate this year. They're closer to the middle of the pack from inside the 5. That's still bad for Kyren Williams, by the way. He's coming off one of his best games of the year. First time this season with over 20 carries. Second time with over 18 carries. Bottom 10 projected schedule rest of season. San Francisco, Seattle, Tampa. Those are his next 3. Detroit and Seattle and Atlanta in the fantasy playoffs. I've got him still pretty high just because running backs tend to carry more value in the trade chart. But he had this big game. He didn't move up. I got a ton of complaints from people saying, why didn't you move him up? He had a big game. It's because I think the schedule moving forward is tough. And I think the situation's a lot different for him than it might have been 2 seasons ago. Certainly in any of the past, 2 years of play when Stafford hasn't had this kind of awesome receiving core. And that's been few and far between. But Kyren Williams is someone that I would consider selling high on. Maybe have him as the same value as Devontae and McConkey on the trade chart. But I'd love to really pair Kyren Williams with another player and move up and get that elite player. Use Kyren plus something else to get Jamar Chase or Bijan Robinson or Jahmyr Gibbs. Gibbs is coming off of a clunker. You can go and get him. Jeanty had a good game last week thanks to his receiving. The 19.9 PPR points was the second best total on the year. He's been under 15 PPR points in 4 games, under 17 in 6 games. He's not delivering on that first-round value. 3.5 yards per carry or worse in each of his past 3 games. That includes the game against Jacksonville last week, obviously, and Tennessee a few weeks ago. Bottom 5 projected schedule. Brock Bowers is back. He looks awesome. I feel like anytime Jeanty has a big game, you should be open to trying an upgrade on him. Do the exact same thing that I just said with Kyren Williams. See if you can turn him into something more. I do have Kyren higher than Jeanty rest of season and on the trade chart.
So I have Kyren one spot ahead of Jeanty. I wonder what running backs do you have ahead of those two, or how many? Not all the names, but just
so
are they like top 12 running backs?
Kyren is still top 12 for me. Jeanty is 16th. One guy that I had a hell of a time trying to figure out what the value was on Rico Dowdle. Like I was gonna ask you guys about this because he's coming off this big game, and yes, the Panthers believe in him and had a great matchup against the Packers. It wasn't a great matchup against the Packers, and he completely shut him down. How should people view him? Is he a top 12 running back moving forward? I think that's too rich. He's definitely a top 20 running back moving forward. I put him right around that same range as Jeanty. I've got him ahead of pretty much every running back that's beat up or just is, clearly not as good as Dowdle could be rest of season.
Please tell me that Adam or Jamie started a stopwatch when Adam said you have 2 minutes.
Oh yeah, there's no chance. When Adam said that, he could have said anything, and I
was gonna yell at Dave in German, but I actually couldn't get a word in because he just went right into Jeanty from Kyren Williams. We talked about Dowdle as a top 10 running back as a buy or sell on Beyond the Box Score on Monday. And I think we went through the guys like here are the top 12 running backs per game right now.
Okay.
Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, Bijan, Jacobs, Achane, James Cook, Javonte Williams, Bucky Irving. Obviously not that many games.
Stop right there. I'd rather have Dowdle than Irving.
Jahmyr Gibbs, Kyren Williams, DeAndre Swift, Saquon Barkley. You could put Dowdle ahead of some of them, but I don't think he's top 10. I don't think he's top 12. He's probably more like 15th.
Yeah.
Still haven't gotten to Derrick Henry on this list. Still haven't gotten to Ashton Jeanty. But I think I would go Kyren, Dowdle, Jeanty rest of the season.
Dowdle and Jeanty are tied on the trade chart, but that's basically how I have it.
All right. Listen, this is a good discussion, but unfortunately we do have to move on. We have Jacob coming on later, and we got to preview Thursday night.
He's
football.
here.
Jacob, you're gonna have to wait. Sorry.